No name. Chris, do you think hardcore atheism can be a cult? Many new atheists hold unscientific views, such as blaming religion for all the world's problems, as Scientologists do with psychiatrists. There have been cases, such as the 2013 murder of British soldier Lee Rigby, in which the perpetrators recorded themselves on camera specifically blaming UK foreign policy for what they were about to do, yet new atheists still blame religion. Some new atheists, such as Kate Smurthwaite, dismiss all religious people as idiots, the same way Scientologists are dismissive of wogs. They want to clear the planet by spreading atheism to religious people, believing this will make the world a better place. Many exist within their own echo chambers, only watching YouTube videos and reading books which reinforce their beliefs and contribute to their confirmation biases. The result is groups of extreme atheists who are highly hostile to outside groups, arrogant and lacking empathy, believing that they alone have a monopoly on logic and reason, unable to understand that their religious counterparts may also be rational people who have merely come to a different conclusion. Okay, so to address the first part of your question, which is new atheism or could hardcore atheists be a cult? No, I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because a destructive cult, or rather a destructive cult, which is I think what you're really asking me, right? A destructive cult has very specific characteristics, and one of those characteristics is a leader or leaders who themselves are accumulating and gathering power to themselves and indoctrinating and using their followers for their own ends. And that doesn't really exist amongst hardcore atheists, or any atheists for that matter. I have some familiarity with atheist groups, not just because I've called myself an atheist, but because I've been hanging around a lot of atheists for the last couple years. And the one thing that almost all of them say is, we don't have any leaders. There are no atheist leaders. This ain't a group like that. And in fact, many of them will rail against the idea of even having a community or a group of any kind. It's actually quite interesting. Many of them are kind of anarchinistic in that regard, right? With their atheist groups, right? I'm not saying they're all a bunch of anarchists. I'm saying that in regards to being atheists, they don't want to be in groups. They don't want to be gathered up together, right? And you get lots of diversity within this group. But as far as the hardcore extremists go, I haven't seen hardcore extremist cult leaders in the atheist community or in the atheist world, or whatever you want to call it. This group of people that identify as atheists, right? If you gather all those people and put them in a room, I haven't seen anybody who is a recognized leader of that group. There are people who are recognized celebrities of that group, or people who have espoused certain ideas that many atheists agree with, but just as many atheists don't necessarily agree with them. And I'm talking here about Christopher Hitchens or Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, right? The horsemen of the atheist movement. So you do have a movement. You do have within that movement, as with any movement, you have extremists. You have hardcore atheists who do exactly what you've described in your question. And they do live in echo chambers, and they do think that their way is the only way, and they are very black and white thinkers. So you have cult activity, you have a cult mentality, or you have the kind of mentality that you see in cult members amongst these extremists. But that doesn't mean that they're a destructive cult themselves, if that makes sense, right? They're also not, there's other characteristics of a destructive cult too, where most destructive cults are amassing power or money of some kind to themselves. Atheists aren't doing that, They just happen to have these hardcore guys get on a soapbox about their atheism, and they basically are just a bunch of jerks, right? And I'm not talking about all atheists, listen to the words I'm saying. The extremists, right? The guys who, even amongst my atheist friends, those guys are like, yeah, not so interested. I don't hang around with or even know, at this point, any hardcore extreme atheists like that. I've seen them on YouTube. I've read about them. I have interacted with a couple, but I don't hang out with those people because they're not fun people to be around. So I think that's sort of my take on that is no, not a destructive cult, but yes, cult-like mentalities. And unfortunately, my take on it is that any group, whether it be a political group, a sports group, a social group, any group, can and does tend to develop a lunatic fringe or a extremist, fringe. And I don't know. I don't know what that's all about. I just see it in enough different groups and stuff that I sort of observe that and think that that's a thing. And maybe a sociologist would have more, bigger words to describe that or talk about that or know more about the percentages of it. I just think that, it's pretty empirically, observable. I think you could see that in almost any group, and atheists are no exception. Atheists do not have any corner on the market of rationality or skepticism. They don't, so they're people too, just like everybody else. So there you go.